Hello. Yeah, how are you, Sharon? Okay. Yeah, yeah, he's good. I think nowadays it's a common problem. Like children's early babies are getting jaundice, born babies. So even he got jaundice. So kind of everyone is changed. So then again, they are saying it's a common problem. There's nothing to fear about. It would be okay because of some kind of oxygen, glass oxygen they are giving for newly born babies. So for those reasons, it's a kind of like side effect. But I think cross fingers, his father and mother both are doctors, and I don't think there should be anything to worry about. Okay, let us. Okay, I'll start my screen sharing first. Need. Okay, sorry, I was screen sharing with the wrong person. So, have you been working on Spring lately? The modules what we have covered yet, the core and the JDBC. So, are you facing any problems? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, the earlier assignments have been completed. Okay, no problem. Like do some other things like not from your official email ID. If you can't send it from your official mail ID, are you online? Okay, we'll continue with our session. Okay. Yeah, I just started. Please let me know if you can see my screen. Okay, good and fine. So we have completed till this part. We have seen how to work with Spring JDBC, and there are little bit missing things which I even want to complete so that we'll be good with the Spring JDBC part. Okay. So Spring JDBC approaches. Spring framework provides following approaches for JDBC database access. So we got templates we know, but these are all the other templates what we can work with. The first is JDBC template, what we have worked with earlier. Named parameter JDBC template. We have even used this to provide named queries. Instead of positional like Hibernate, we can also have named queries in Spring. And to use named queries in Spring, we have to work with named parameter JDBC template, right? And there's also another template called simple JDBC template, which is quite advanced with the JDBC template. We'll have a look. So we got even simple JDBC insert and simple JDBC call. So JDBC template, it's a central class in Spring JDBC support classes. It takes care of creation and release of resources such as creating and closing on connection objects, etc. So it will not lead to any problem if you forget to close the connection. So as we know, if you're working with JDBC, we need to do all of the basic groundwork. But if you're working with Spring JDBC, we need not to do the basic groundwork like opening and closing the connections, handling the exceptions and all those things. Spring template will take care of all those things for us. So we just need to focus on the retrieval logic itself. We need not to do some additional extra steps what we have to do with JDBC. It handles exceptions and provides informative exception messages by help of exception class defined in Spring Framework.do package. So we got some kind of specific exceptions for every exception that is present in this package. We can perform all database operations by the help of template JDBC template class such as insertion, updation, deletion, and retrieval of data from the database. So all of the CURD operations are supported by Spring JDBC template class. We can execute parameterized query using Spring JDBC template by the help of execute method of template class. To use parameterized query, we need to pass the instance of prepare statement callback in the execute method. We have seen this earlier also. Between you and me. Okay, shall I continue? Hello, Mr. Arun, are you able to listen to me? Hello. What's the problem? Okay. Oh, that's crazy. Okay. Anyways, shall we continue with our class? So, okay, come on. So, we have seen prepare statement till. Okay. So, now we'll see the other things. The first thing is result set extractor. So, using this, we can easily fetch records from database using query method of template class, where we need to pass the instance of result set extractor. So for the query method, we can pass the instance of result set extractor, and passing this extractor, we can easily fetch the records as like simple things what we have done through JDBC. We'll have a look in a moment to have better clarity. Okay. So result set extractor interface can be used to fetch records from database. It accepts a result set and returns a list. So we'll get a result set like a JDBC. We'll get our result set. So if you want to turn back to JDBC or a programming which makes us more convenient thinking, or make us feel good or convenient while working with a result set, so we can work with result set interface, result set extractor interface. It defines only one method, extract data, that accepts result set instance as a parameter. Let us see an example on result set extractor. So we want to see an example on result set extractor. Okay. Yeah, this is result set extractor. Let us start with the easy things. So this is my employee class having a simple Pojo, ID, name, salary and job. And this is my select client. Okay, this is the main class and the implementation class. We'll have a look. But what we have seen, we got a Pojo called employee, and in our application context.xml, we are using basic data source as usual, nothing special over here. We are using Oracle driver. The URL is this thing, username and password, and the initial size of the connection pool. So I'm using JDBC template, the old thing. Okay, nothing new over here, the same old template. And for that, I'm providing the same data source, nothing special over here. Okay, nothing new over here till now. So for the JT would be JDBC template present in select IMPI class, I am providing the template, this template reference. So let us see select IMPL. Is it got JT variable? Yeah, it got a JT variable and a setter. So using JT query method, we'll get the data. Now in our earlier examples, we have seen how to get the data. Let us see. Let us switch back to our basic thing, how we have got it earlier the data. So earlier we have directly used the query. We have used update method, query for int, and those things, query for x and update and other methods. Okay, but now we'll see execute method. So in execute method, we need to pass the query as usual. Now the second argument we are passing as result set extractor. So this is an interface, so we need to provide an implementation of the methods, abstract methods present in that interface, and this interface got only one method called extract data, which we need to override. Okay, so as you can see, we got a result set object. So we are not creating a result set object ourselves like we used to do it in JDBC. Here Spring will create this result set object and call this method whenever it is required. Okay, so in this method I am normally using my result set object to get the data. So while rs.next I am retrieving 1 2 3 4 rs.getString 18, all of those things, and after retrieving the data I am adding it to a list. Okay, so the important thing to note is we are using an interface called result extractor, and there's a method called extract data. So when we are implementing this, the Spring will call this method with result set, and we should return a list. So we are specifically using a list of employees because we know that data is of list employees. So we are directly adding employees object to the list and returning the list. Let's just go to the database and see what's our database data. EMP is a table what we are using as of now. Select star from EMP. So I got some sample data in this. Okay, nothing big deal over here. So ID, name, salary and job. So every time result set as usual will retrieve and record when I say rs.next, and every record I am adding it to a list. So I'll return this list whenever getEMP details method is called. So similarly I got one more method called modified designation. So modified designation is an update query which updates the respective things. Here I am not using prepared statement, I am using it as a basic thing as an object array. Okay, so I'm just modifying things. Whatever I want to pass, I'll pass over this, and I want it to be modified. And register employee is a method that I want to insert data. Whenever I want to insert data, I'll do it using register employee. So then again here you notice that we are using a prepared statement callback. Here we didn't use prepared statement, but now we are using prepared statement. So this is an interface which got a method called doing prepared statement. So this method returns a boolean value stating whether the uh, uh, this method is successful or not, the execution whatever we want to do, whether the task is successful or not. So then again that task is successful or not, it solely depends on the programmer. We can do some dummy things like we can say ourselves return true in this way, but it's not meant to be that way. It's recommended to be based on the result. Okay, so prepared statement callback is an interface. It got a method doing prepared statement. It gets an object of prepared statement. Using this prepared statement object we can add the uh, placements of the query. So we are not even we are using JDBC style of programming. We are not creating result set, we are not creating prepared statement, neither we are creating, neither we are calling, neither we are closing, we are just using them. Okay, if you feel like you are comfortable with the plain old JDBC programming but you are enforced to work with Spring programming, you can come and work with these things so that it's almost the same, or there is something which Spring still doesn't provide support, like if there's a new database engine which came into the market and Spring JDBC is still not supporting that, and if we have to use that, the only JDBC has plain JDBC has, so we can integrate plain JDBC with the own with the Spring so that it provides support to the even new database engines. Okay, so this is my simple class. So in my client class I'm getting the object application context object, then I'm getting the bean. First thing, I'm getting the list which will retrieve me all the things, then I'm printing it out. I'm not using the other two things. Okay, as of now only one thing. So let me just execute this. So I should get all of the data. So one more time, we are not calling result set. Spring will call result set. Okay. Okay. Why is it taking this much of time? Okay, I got it. I have added a huge library set. That's the reason it's taking that much of time to class build. So I'm only printing out the names. So it is printing out all of my names. Arun, Matin, Jagu, Kanakadash. Okay. The values from the database. I can even go ahead and use the other methods. If I want to modify the designation, I can use this method. So let us just go ahead and use it. For now, let us just comment these things. So let us say like yes dot modified designation of home designation I want to modify. Let us see. Let us say 17 and 17 and designation would be director. So I just want to modify. I can even take the return type, but as of now I'm not interested to take the return type. I'm just interested to see whether the things are working or not. So it will not give me any output because I didn't printed anything. So if you can see, the change has been done. So if I want to use the other method, I can even do the same thing. Register employee. Here let us register a new employee. Yes dot register new employee. The ID number would be 18. The name would be let us say something like Kiran. His designation would be uh, SSE senior software engineer. His salary would be around 45,000 something. Okay, then again I can take the return types if I want, like this boolean is record inserted equal to, then I can say if of. Okay, it's some good programming standards. We should do always like this. If it is like this, we can do ahead and go and add some more our own methods, other own logics. Okay, like logging or audit logs. EMPL employee added. So that's how you work with result set extractor. Okay, so okay, it returned me false. Let us see. Okay, it got inserted. So this update has returned false. Okay, let us not jump into that. So here what we want to focus is the result set extractor class interface. Sorry. Okay, here the result set interface. So we'll get the result set after retrieving the data. So once we get the result set, we can modify or extract the data according to our requirement. Instead of directly saying like query as list and query as int, we can create our own list, our own user defined list or user defined maps or whatever we want. We can do it in our way. Okay, so we can add much more functionality to the fundamentals or basics. We can add some more stuff, our own business requirement stuff to the basic steps by working with result set extractor interface. So here notice that the Spring is calling the result set object itself. Okay, Why I am focusing on this, you'll understand in this particular point. Okay, so like result set extractor, we got row mapper interface, which allows to map a row of the relations with the instance of user defined class. It means like database to the Pojo. It iterates the result set internally and adds it to the collection. So instead of giving us the whole result set object, now it will only give us one row at a time, row mapper. It's like much in-depth next level of iteration when considered to result set extractor. In result set, we'll get the result set object. Here, we'll not get the result set object. We'll only get every row of the result set. While rs.next, we'll see in a moment. Okay. So we don't need to write a lot of code to fetch the record as result set extractor. This is used to process one record of the result set object. So only one record of the result set object. If you want to process, we can work with row mapper. Like result set extractor, we can use row mapper interface to fetch the records from the database using query method of the JDBC template class. In execute of in the execute method, we need to pass the instance of row mapper. Like we passed earlier, we passed the result set extractor instance. We need to pass row mapper instance. As this is an interface, so we'll have to override some method. We'll see what is the method we need to override. Advantage of row mapper: saves a lot of code because it internally adds the data of result set into the collection. It defines only one method, map row, that accepts result set as instance and int as a parameter list. So let us jump with the row mapper example, so we can easily differentiate between result set extractor and result set mapper. So as usual, I got my employee Pojo, nothing big over here, name, salary, job, and here get TMP details. So earlier in the query object, let us just compare it side by side. We can make things more clear in that manner. So here we passed result set extractor, but as if you can see now, we are passing row mapper. Okay, and we are overriding map row. Here we have overridden extract data. We got a result set object. So even here we are getting a result set object with an extra addition thing called row number. So what happens is Spring will call rs.next and then it will send us the result set object with the row number which it is pointing. Here we used to call rs.next ourselves. We kept a while loop, right? So this method got called only once, but when considered to this method would be called the number of times uh, how many records are present in our database. So let us say we got 10 records in our database. So this method will get called 10 times. But this method extract data of result set extractor will be called only one time. So here we need to do some extra logic like writing while rs.next and iterating through the thing and adding them. But here we need not to do rs.next and all those things. We can directly get the row number of that thing and we directly use it. Get the data and setting to the Pojo. Okay. So at the end we can directly add that Pojo to the list. So here I am not directly adding the data to the Pojo. As you can see, the return type is the list, but I am returning the method itself. So that it means like whatever the Pojo is, it will be get added to the list and a list of these Pojos will be returned. Is it clear or something confusing is present over here? Okay. Result set extractor is an interface. This is also an interface. Both of them got their own methods. The row mapper, that's the name, map row. Row mapper got map row result set extractor. Extract got extract data. Okay, they got their own methods, so we need to provide implementation for these things. And Spring call these methods. Whenever we call these methods, get emp details, Spring call these methods by providing some arguments. So the arguments on which Spring call these methods is what makes the difference. Okay, Spring calls extract data with result set object. Spring call map row with result set object, but with additional parameter called row number. Here Spring will not iterate through the result set object, but here Spring will iterate through the result set object each time. So we will not call next or previous any kind of operations. Okay, so that's the difference between row mapper and result set extractor. Here the Pojo gets automatically added to the list, but in here we are adding the Pojo to the list. Okay, so while working with result set extractor, we need to do some extra additional code. While working with row mapper, our code reduces. That's it. So the output again would be the same. We'll not get any different output. If I do retrieve, I'll get the same output again, even in the row mapper. Okay, so when I say get employee details, instead of using result set extractor, I'm using row mapper. So it will extract the data from the result set object, add it to the Pojo, and this Pojo is getting added to the list, and list will be returned. So list of Pojos is what we'll get, and we are iterating through the list and printing everything out. So are you clear with these two things? Result set extractor and result set row mapper, sorry. So let us go with the Spring JDBC, how to work with the connection pooling. We have even seen some third-party connection pooling, but let us see some additional theory part of Spring JDBC. So Spring JDBC provides, in this part of Spring JDBC, I only want to talk about mostly about the connection pooling. Okay. So Spring JDBC provides an abstraction layer on plain JDBC using this following template class, using JDBC template. Like we had template class of JDBC, similarly we got a template class for JDBC called JDBC template. So JDBC template class provided some abstraction on the common logics, right? Like creation of the connection and closing of the connection. So similarly, we'll get some abstraction on the common methods of plain JDBC using template classes. So as of now, we can say that okay, Spring is doing nothing but providing some template classes which are doing some common logics, so that we can focus on our specific business logics. Okay. So the JDBC template internally uses plain JDBC. So even JDBC templates uses internally JDBC. So JDBC templates also uses internally plain JDBC and simplifies the process of JDBC operations on the registry software. Plain JDBC programming. So what are the steps involved in a plain JDBC programming? We have to prepare the JDBC properties first step. Then we need to create an initial context object class respective to the every server whatever we are working on. So perform JDBC operations, then take care of the exception handling, close the initial context. So these are like 5 basic steps what we need to perform if you want to work with the plain JDBC programming. Now if we work with the Spring JDBC, what are the steps we need to do? Only 2 steps. One is get the template object, perform your operations, similar to the JDBC. We need not to bother about closing and exception handling again. Okay, Spring will take care of those things for us. So in short, I can say that it's more like of writing less code and doing more things. Okay, so Spring JNDA template gives us bind, rebind, unbind, and lookup method, but doesn't give list method. So this is a limitation. It doesn't directly give list method. List method is used to get the list of the connections with the JNDI, but Spring JNDI doesn't give us a list method, but it gives us bind, rebind, unbind, and lookup method. We'll see in an example of Spring JNDI in a moment, but let us just complete this. So Spring JDBC template, Spring 3 JDBC supports Java 5 feature, Varix, and autoboxing by help of Spring JDBC template class. So we haven't seen Spring JDBC template. We have seen JDBC template itself. So we'll see simple JDBC template. Okay. So it got a support for Varix and autoboxing. Simple JDBC template class wraps the JDBC template class and provides the update method where we can pass arbitrary number of arguments. So here we can call uh, an update method using Spring simple JDBC template, which internally uses JDBC template method. Okay, it's just like a wrapper. It provides nothing else, but additionally we can provide as many number of arguments as much as we want, because it has a varag uh, argument in its method declaration. Then again, the first argument is string SQL. Okay, as a refreshment, a varag argument should always come at the last. Okay, a varag argument cannot occur after any normal argument. If you want to declare any varag method, that should be at the last. So that is why the update method has a varag argument which is at the last. Okay, we'll see in a moment. Just let us complete the theory. So we should pass parameter values in the update method in order they are defined in the parameterized query. So let us say we got many parameters we want to provide in input as to the query. Okay, let us say we got 10 inputs, something like ID, name, number, salary, job, and all those things. So the parameters what we are to specify should occur in the same manner in which the parameters are present in the query. If the first is ID, in our parameters the first should be ID. Second is name, the second should be name in our argument. Third is salary, third should be salary in our argument. Okay, procedure to work. Okay, let us just see how Spring JDBC template example is. Simple template. So here I got my Spring JDBC template. So update method. Here in update method, as you can see, I am directly passing the arguments. But in my other classes, if you see, I got update method, but here I am passing the array of object. Okay, object array. This is for normal JDBC template. Okay, this is JDBC template, but as of simple JDBC template, I can directly pass the argument, and this length can be as much as we want. Okay, so that we can, and these arguments should be in the order in which they are defined in the query. The first is ename, so my first argument should be ename after the query I'm talking, and the second is emp id, so the second is emp id. So in my query there might be n number of parameters required, so all those parameters I can specify in the update method in the same order in which they appear in the query. Okay, okay, so let us see our client. So here we are updating Kiran. So we are using register emp. So okay, okay, I went to a proper example. So here we are using update method with for 2. Let us see what is 2. 2 as of now is Arun, so let us update is as Arun Anasuri, right? So this update method, as you can see, takes an employee object. So I'm directly anonymously creating an employee object and passing it. Okay, so let us just execute this. So one object got updated. Let us see. Okay, Arun Anus. Sorry, is this the spelling is correct? Sure. Okay, Anusuri. Okay. Okay, let us see whether this works for the second time or not. So in that way, I'll even remember your name properly, Anusuri. So it got updated for the second time also. So no problem for that. So it also derives that a single record can be updated multiple times. Okay, no need to do that, but okay. So we'll see how to work with glassfish, and here I'll demonstrate how to a little bit more of information how to work with glassfish, because we can use the same information while working with JMS. Okay, so while an application, so nothing big deal, like we have web logic, we got glassfish. Yeah, it's an application server, it's not a web server, it's an application server. It even provides additional supports like JMS and all those things. So, and I like Glassfish because I like NetBeans. A silly reason, because I have installed NetBeans. I have started while working with Java. From that day, I've started working with NetBeans. So obviously, whatever are the default things of NetBeans, I like that. So that's my basic definition why I like Glassfish. But there are some other reasons also, because Glassfish is a very good and user-friendly server, and it's very easy to install and work without. Okay, it doesn't gives you much of headache. Obviously all of the web servers, if you ask me, every web server is a headache. And like WebLogic, it's a very big headache as of for me, because WebLogic doesn't is like compiled with JDK4. If you want, I could show you. I have created. Mhm. Yeah, yeah, that's what I am showing you. I have created connection pooling examples, and here I have created in the core also have created DAO connection pooling, as you can see WebLogic, but it wasn't working. So I remember, okay, WebLogic should be work with 1.4. So I created one more project and set it its Java coding uh, compiler level to 1.4 to work with WebLogic. So these are all the extra things you need to take care of. So but Glassfish is a good thing. You get 1.7, so you can directly integrate. So we'll see first with the WebLogic, first with the hard thing. Okay, so yeah, so connection pool. Okay, Aura GND. Okay, let me start my WebLogic. Yes, okay, Hello. So I have started my WebLogic server. Let us see how to work with connection pooling in WebLogic, because that was the missed part. So I earlier said you I didn't develop the example. So now I did develop, because I had plenty of time while we weren't taking classes. We got lot of missed classes, right? So at those time I utilized the time and created some sample examples using WebLogic and Glassfish. So in this, let us go ahead and create a connection pool. I want to create a new connection pool. Okay, not configure. Yeah, configure a new connection pool. So I want to create a connection pool for Oracle using the thin.io. Then my connection pool name would be Aura pool 2. Oracle pool stands for, okay. So database name XE, host name localhost, or you can even give your IP address like 127.0.0.1, or you can give your public IP address. So database username is system, password is system. Oh, my bad, I revealed my password to you. Yeah. I don't have any sensible data in my database, so I don't have any problem even if you know. Okay. I think, yeah, that's also a point. Even if you know and even if you hack, I don't have any problem with that, because I don't have any sensible data in my Oracle database. I keep everything in Google. So let me just test. So connection was successful, so I'm creating and deploying. Okay. So then I need to create the data source, a new data source. Let me, okay. Uh, what's the previous name? Aura DS, Aura JNDI. So I'll create with the same thing, Aura DS2, Aura JNDI2. So as second part, I think, okay. So Aura pool 2, continue. So that's it. You can, my new JNDI has been configured, Aura JNDI2. Okay. So Aura JNDI2. So now my employee.hbm.xml, let us see, it's pointing to employee. Do I got my table employee? Select star from, this is EMP, this is not employee. Okay, I got employee with 7, Rakesh, RAO and A. So what's my operation over here? Rakesh, I'll say 5. I'm adding, okay, I'm saving. And this is not, oh my god, I think I'm working with only Hibernate. Okay, anyhow, as we have seen, the 7 is already present. Let us make it as 8. WebLogic, yeah, it is present in the jar files. Log4j not found. Yes. Yeah. This is, I accidentally started working with Hibernate because the Spring WebLogic example is below. Just within a moment we'll see. Just we'll see whether it's working or not. So record got inserted 8, Rakesh 5. So you'll even understand that same Oracle, same JNDI, can we use it with Spring and Hibernate separately or not? If this works, that will prove that. So as we said, we got a JNDI template. The JNDI template is over here. So Just a moment. Mhm. Okay. Here I am working with JNDA factory bean. I'm not working with template. I'm working with JNDA object factory bean. Okay. This is also like kind of a JNDA template. So which will, in this I need to specify the JNDA name. So here I'm using Aura JNDI2 and the provider URL, and note that this protocol is will be changed for every application server mostly. Okay. The T3 is for WebLogic, IIOP is for Glassfish, and other things will use as some other protocols. Okay, so these protocols keeps on changing, but as of T3, this is a proprietary. I mean, like WebLogic owns this protocol, like Oracle owns Java technology. T3 is a protocol owned by WebLogic. Okay, so only he can use it. So I'm using my factory bean. So the same old things. Now to fetch the EMP, I'm setting the data source from the JNDA. Okay, this is from the core container. Using the core container, I have injected the values into the data source. I'm directly using the data source to get the connection. Once I get the connection, I am retrieving the F name from the employee. After retrieving the F name, I'm retrieving the mail. Two things. Okay, some retrieval of operation. Okay, so now retrieve the data of 8 employee what we have earlier inserted using Hibernate. So retrieve his name and mail. So he was Rakesh 5 and some mail was there. Disconnected anytime call. So it is not from my side. Don't blame on me. Okay. Okay. I don't even have problems with even others. So please don't point to me. I don't. Okay. And that's communication problems. That's what happens most of the times. Even because of the networks. Okay, reasons can be anything. Let us not jump into some other discussion. We'll continue or stick with our thing. Okay, so the same thing we have seen how to work with Spring JNDI. Okay, but before working with Spring JNDI, I think I have even created a sample JNDI DAO Spring DAO JNDI. So not in this. Yeah, here. Okay, but before going to this, let us just start with the glassfish. Okay, so here in on my system there's a problem with me. I am working glassfish and oracle on the same port. So to start either of them I need to stop either of them. I can even change the ports, but I wasn't interested to do the configuration things. So whenever I want to use the glassfish connection pool, instead of specifying it to the oracle database, I specified it to mysql database and stopping the oracle server. And here's the good part: whenever you install NetBeans, you'll get default as Glassfish server. And if you want to work with Glassfish server, you need not to separately install a Glassfish server. You can also use the NetBeans Glassfish server. Okay, so let us proceed with our PPT. So how to work with Glassfish is our concern. So procedure to work with Glassfish connection pool: when we install NetBeans, by default we'll get Glassfish server. We'll use this server. The server runs on the port 4848. So in the browser, after we type localhost colon 4848, the Glassfish page will get showed up. So instead of using the default domain, if you want to create your own domain, this is the steps you need to follow to create your own domain. Okay, but in our example we will be using default domain, but as for convenience in future, if you have to work with Glassfish and if you have to create a new domain, you can use these tips. Let us just create a sample domain. We'll not be using that, just we'll see how to create a domain. Okay, so if we install Glassfish, we get AS admin utility. Using this we can perform CRUD operations on domains, not database. I'm talking about domains. Okay, first, to find the list of the existing domains, use the following command: asadmin space list hyphen domain. So whenever you install Glassfish or NetBeans, Glassfish will automatically get installed. In my system, it has installed in program files, and this is the latest one because I have installed NetBeans 8.0. So in this, I'll get bin. In bin, I'll have asadmin utility. Okay, so I'm opening command prompt, cmd and cd. So I'll say asadmin space list hyphen domains. So that should list me the number of domains I have in my local system. Okay, so domain 1 not running, so no admin portex. So these are my domains. If I want, I can also do it like this: asadmin, I can hit enter, and I can say list domains, sorry. So it will also give me in that way, but I am not sticking to that. I'll always give like this comments. Okay, asadmin, I feel comfortable in this way. So first thing, if you want to see list, we can use list domain. Then again, if you want to create a domain, you got to use create hyphen domain space hyphen admin port and the port number what you want to use space user. So I don't want to make mistakes in typing any of these commands, so I'm copying this. Okay, so even in in the future, okay, I'll get an error because 5000 I have already used. My domain, I'll say 3. Okay, so whenever I create this domain, after creating of a domain, it will ask me for a password. Better do not give any password, that's what I like. So I'm just hitting enter. So it will start create a domain. It will not start the domain, it will create the domain. So once the domain gets created, you can start the domain using start domain option. Let us that get created, we will see the next option. So as start domain, the domain name you can use to start that particular domain. So it's still working on one Glassfish, create your domain. Okay, WebLogic also even takes much more time to create a domain. I think if you ever have created a domain using WebLogic, it's a UI thing, but it also takes a lot of time. Okay, creating of a domain obviously taking some quite of time. So do you have installed NetBeans at your system? So I want to start my domain 3. So in this way you can start your domain, and once your domain is started, you can go into your uh, browser and type localhost colon your specified port number 5001 in my case, in this way. So whenever this gets starts, if it gets started, as you can see the port number was here what we specified. So whenever it gets started, in the server we'll get a correct page, but it is not started yet. Come on, come on, come on, run fastly. There's no forward or rewind kind of buttons in my hand. Otherwise, I would have make it fast forward. Okay. What might come into their mind? They are giving like dot 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 so that user can understand it's loading. Even though it's not a graphical user interface, the developers had given quite a thing. It's not working there. Just kill their systems. Yeah, long back. Oracle, I don't know why he is so much interested in all the technologies. He's buying everyone. Really? I didn't know that. Oracle is maintained by Microsoft and Google. What did you just say? Okay, yeah, these three are very much different. But Google is Google. Google, no one can compete. As of my scenario scope, I will say the projects of Google's are far better than these two guys. So this is a page what we get, but I'm not interested to work with the user defined domains. So I'm stopping this domain. Okay. So to start the default domain, I'll go to my NetBeans in the services tab, in the servers. I'll just directly right click on the server Glassfish and say start. Hmm. But at the time of installation, it asks you whether to install it or not. You can also deselect that. It also asks for, I think as of now, newer NetBeans are also asking for Tomcat itself. So Tomcat 8 will also get installed if you install NetBeans 8. You'll get Glassfish 4 and Tomcat 8. Yeah, I'm using NetBeans 8.0, but it isn't like only this will work on NetBeans 8.0. It will also work in NetBeans 7. Other versions also. Okay, 7.x. Okay, you are taking quite a time, Glassfish. Okay, it started. So let it start. I'll just go ahead and type here localhost colon 4848. The port of the default Glassfish as from PPT as it. Yeah, I'm not using the user defined domain. I just showed you the procedure how to create and how to work. If you want, you can work in that way, but I'm not interested to work with the user defined domain. Because I don't want to see any funny things happen that generally happens when we do a lot of configurations with our servers. I always like to stick with the default things because these server problems are really staying you. They just grab hours of your time simply like that. Okay. So we'll be working with the MySQL database. So if you want to create a connection pool for MySQL database in this particular folder, copy your MySQL driver. I mean jar. Okay. So in the Glassfish domains, you're in your domain in the repository in the ext folder, copy the MySQL jar. Okay. So once you copied that, good, still starting. So once you have copied that, you can go ahead and create the JDBC for the database. And the same thing here, how much it is easy it is to create the connection for MySQL. It is not as easy as the same thing in WebLogic. In WebLogic, I struggled a lot, even though at the end of the time it took so much of my time, and it still some common problems. So I left WebLogic for connecting to MySQL database. But this Glassfish is very okay, very good. Just drop in the jar, you will get the support for the uh, creating the database. Okay, first create a connection pool. If you want to go work with the Oracle, drop the Oracle driver. If you want to work with the Postgres, drop the Postgres driver jar file. So it's easy as I said. Okay. In WebLogic, there's a lot of dependencies. Even if you after you do, you need to do some class path settings and all those idiot things. I don't like WebLogic at all. But then again, if I have to work with, I have a basic knowledge how to work with WebLogic. I can read up myself or enhance my abilities when required. So it's always, I would say, better to have knowledge about all of the servers. A basic knowledge is good, but you should have a high level of knowledge when you're going to be a deployment engineer. But as of we are a software developers, no one will ask us how to create a JNDI in Glassfish. They'll only just ask us how to work, whether you know the programming part or not. Okay, let us just give some pool name. So I'll give MySQL pool 1. So the resource type should be given as data source java.sql data source. There are other types also, but don't select that as of now. And MySQL is my database vendor. So after that, I just need to go with the next. That's it. And here one more 2 clicks and your connection pool will be created. We did 3 clicks as of now, 2 clicks and 1 typing, and here also it would be the same thing, 2 clicks and 1 more typing. Not here, there's not even click at all. You can see it automatically populated everything for me, so I am not doing anything at all. But here you need to provide the username for my system is root. I need to find the password. It has given me lot of default things. I'm not interested to give all those default values, so let it be those default values itself. Okay, password would be root. You again saw my password. URL. So there are two URLs actually, if you see. One is capital U small rl, camel case URL, and other is all caps URL. This is the URL what we'll be using. Okay, so I don't know why he had given those two things. Some default things internally it is providing lot of supports. I even don't know all of those things. I knew some of the basic things like the logging and all those things, but it is providing something like 100 of properties, so a DBA can mostly understand all of those things. Okay, so here I was using what I think I am using test, I think, in my example. Let me just cross check what is the database I'm using so that I'll specify the same database. Okay, I'll not based on the table I can say select data from example. So yeah, example is this. Yeah, so I'm using test database. So this is my test. That's it. Specify the URL, username, password, and the pool name. And 2 clicks. 3 writing things and 2 clicks. That's what it takes to create a connection pool in Glassfish. Yeah, obviously, if you want, you can do some other things also, like pool settings, initial pool size, and all those things. But I am not interested even to give all those things. I just want to see the working. So the default settings I have accepted with the default settings. Okay. So it even got support for load balancers. Okay, good thing. So my SQL pool one is what I have just now created. Small MySQL pool one. I think the similar names I have given. That's a bad thing. I shouldn't have done that. Okay, I'll give some good name for JNDA, a different name. So everything is like MySQL JNDI, MySQL JNDI. I'll give JNDI MySQL. Mhm. So that I could differentiate. This is the one I have created just now. So just specify your JNDI name, JNDI MySQL1, and the pool is this thing, and that's it. Okay, but we haven't pinged or tested the connection. Okay, at the time of JDBC connection pool creation only we should have done that, but no problem. We can even do it now. After connection pool creation, we should always, it's a better approach to test the connection whether it is working or not. So ping, in here it's ping, and in WebLogic it's test connection. Both of them have got their own fundamental speakings. Come on. Okay, ping succeeded. So what is my JNDI? What was my name? JNDI name? No, no. Oracle was in, I have kept in WebLogic. Here I have given something like JNDI MySQL. Okay, yeah, JNDI MySQL one. So just use it in our program. So here's my DAO for Glassfish. Here what I need to replace with. Okay. Okay, let us see how we would have worked without Spring. This is a basic example without Spring. So in the hash table, we need to specify the initial context factory. We need to specify the URL, then create the context class, then get the data source. After we need to do a common logics, get even connection statement. Let us just execute to see whether it's working or not. And note that here we are using IIOP. We are not using T3 protocol. We are using IIOP. It's stands for hmm? Yeah, Glassfish. WebLogic uses T3 protocol. Glassfish uses IIOP protocol. And the end of my this particular PPT, I have given a small notes on different protocols also. So when we reach over there, we can even have a differentiate between these protocols. Oh, my bad. I think I didn't added the Glassfish drivers. Did I add it? Yeah, I did add. So I got my output. Okay, 1 2 3. If you see my database, it's nothing but 1 2 3. And one more thing, important thing I would like to say, how to add the jar files. As usual, I have created a library of all the Glassfish in my build path. If you see a library, I have got my library called Glassfish. Okay, in this library, I have kept all the jars of Glassfish. I am not specified with 4 to 5 jars. Actually, I was having a lot of problems with the jars, so here's what I did, and I would recommend even you to do that. Okay, just go into your Glassfish installation folder, type star.jar. Okay, so once you'll get all of the jar files of the Glassfish, keep it in some temporary folders, then create a library of this temporary folder. Okay, so that's what I did. You might have another approach, but I would say you at least have one approach. Okay, so here's how I would done in the uh, using Spring. I'll have to specify the JNDI template. In this place, it's I'm using JNDI object factory bean, so it will give me JNDI. So after that, I'm just using the protocol, the port number. Okay, and again the initial context factory class changes for every uh, web servers. For WebLogic it was something else, and for it is uh, Glassfish it is something else. Okay, okay, it seems like I have another session. Okay, we'll finish with the Glassfish, then we'll finish with the session. Okay, okay, I'll just share, but mhm. Okay, today I'll only share examples and PPTs. Okay, so in my implementation class the same thing, I'll have data source object injected through Spring. So from the data source I'm getting the connection, retrieving the result set and getting the data. Okay, so this is not important, so whether to get the connection object from the Spring was important thing here. And one more important point, yesterday I wasted about around like 2 or 3 hours doing a silly mistake. uh, I got my output. Okay, the silly mistake was I have kept my WebLogic jars and Glassfish jars in the class path, and the JNDIs was not working at all. So don't do the same mistake what I have done. Do not keep both of them in the class paths. Okay, yeah, either keep WebLogic or either keep Glassfish. If you are working with Glassfish, keep Glassfish. If you are working with WebLogic, keep WebLogic. If you keep both of them, you will end up confusing or wasting your hours also. Just don't do that. Okay, yeah, because here we'll get the objects based on the interfaces, right? These interface implementations are present in the jars in the class path. So there are two implementation classes present in the jars of the class path. So that what made thing confuse. So it's better not we do that. And one more thing I wanted just to show you that we can, if we work with connection pooling, how we would work with connection pooling. Glassfish connection pooling without like in web applications. Okay, it's quite easier than our things. So as you can see in our main application, we have to specify the initial context and all the hash table related things. What is the initial context class and all those things. If you see in our program, in the main class we have provided the initial context factory and provider URL kept in an hash table, and initial context has this hash table. But if you are working with a web program or a servlet program which you are going to deploy directly in the Glassfish, you need not to specify those things. Okay, just directly say context object, initial context object, look up for the object what you want, do the rest of the things similarly. So underlying Glassfish server will inject the values in this initial context class. Okay, so we'll see, and here are the steps what I have done in front of you. Here are the steps like mentioned. Okay, so that you can see it later on. So in the next class we'll see how to work with Spring ORM, and we'll see how to work with JMS. Okay, so then we will be completed working with the Spring JDBC module. Okay, so okay, tomorrow morning 8 a.m. we'll continue our session. Till then, take care. Bye.